Hey everyone, and welcome back to my game journal. Last month was focused on my backlog and there was some of that in February too. However, I did go try some new games and I ended up adoring them. Most of my gaming was at the beginning and end of the month since I had to start a big life project in the middle. But I still got a lot of stuff done, so I'm excited to talk about the games. I realized after making the last game journal that not everyone is going to be familiar with the games that I talk about. So before giving my thoughts, I'm going to briefly describe each game. At least the ones that I haven't talked about on the channel before. If I've already talked about them, you've already seen them, I'm not going to describe it again. But if I haven't, I'll give a little bit of a description, nothing super in-depth. So with that being said, let's get into the first game that I played in February. So the first game that I played in February is Fire Emblem Engage. I got it at the very end of the month, but I didn't get a chance to play it then, so that's what I dove into right away. If you are not already familiar with Fire Emblem, then the best way I can describe it is honestly chess. Your characters are chess pieces, and you move them around to defeat your enemies. It's a strategy RPG. It can be a little complicated if you've never done it, but it is really, really engaging. Anyway, that's the best way for me to describe the gameplay. It really is like chess. If you're into the strategy of it, you're gonna have a very, very fun time with this game. The actual story of Fire Emblem isn't really super connected. There are some connections in the games, and the way that Engage connects with the other games is through the Emblem rings, but there's no real huge connection in it, so if you haven't played the games, don't be afraid to just jump right into this one. As for my thoughts on the game itself, I had some silly first impressions. It did not take itself super seriously at the beginning. You could tell right from the start when Elir yells, "Engage!" Marth introduces himself as an emblem, and I feel like all that needed to happen was at the end, everyone needed to gather around and say, "We are the Fire Emblems! Engage!" They obviously don't sound like that, I'm just over exaggerating, but seriously, you can tell that they were being cheesy when writing the story, but even though it is cheesy, you can still tell that they're throwing serious elements throughout the story. Chapter 10 in particular is one to keep an eye out for when the story takes a more serious turn, and the chapter that Yunaka appears in is a standout for how cool it is. The serious story elements fit surprisingly well with the goofy dialogue, but speaking of the goofy dialogue, I did like it overall. It did get a bit excessive at times. The whole fan club support scenes were over the top and I just did not like them at all, but most of the conversations were entertaining. The conversations were definitely carried by the characters. There were a few that I didn't resonate with, like I didn't care for Butron or Louis, but there were still a lot that stuck out. I ended up getting engaged with Yunaka, and Alfred is one of my favorite characters in the game. And along with the great cast of characters that they have, the gameplay was also amazing. I love that they brought back the rock, paper, scissors element. I was really disappointed when they removed it in 3 houses. The attacks are so much smoother now and they feel really satisfying to see. There's more of a flow to them. They don't like pause after each attack anymore, so that really helps with how smooth the game feels. And lastly, past the gameplay, you know I gotta mention the music. It is so good. The Somnium music might be my favorite piece, specifically the day theme. I just absolutely adore it. Not counting the Somnium music, one of my favorite touches musically is how the battle theme changes depending if you're in combat or moving your party members. It's a very small touch, but it's one that I really, really liked. My only real complaints about the game are that I didn't care about some of the deeper Somnium mechanics, and the class changes were a little weird to me, but those are easily avoidable. I ignored the mechanics I didn't care about in the Somnium, and I just really liked how 3 houses did class changing. I know this is how it's done in other Fire Emblem games, but it's just my personal preference. I was able to deal with it fine. Other than that, the game was great. I give it a high papaya out of 10, and I'm glad that this was my first game of 2023. And my second game of the month is Catherine Full Body. This is a puzzle platformer with a central vibe, and it is very strange. I played it for my friend Technology's video game book club. Check it down in the description below. Make sure to check him out. It's going to be great. I think it's already out by the time this video is out, so please check him out. Back to Catherine, it is not my first time playing it. I have played it before, but I haven't played it since it launched, so it did feel good to go back to it. There's a lot to like about this game, and I think the standout is the gameplay. I don't think there's anything like it. If there is, please let me know. I want more games like this. I felt really, really good playing it. It made me feel smart, and it also made me feel dumb at the same time. I really, really enjoyed playing it. Aside from how unique the gameplay is, the game does an excellent job at setting the tone. You feel Vincent's anxiety, you feel his stress, you see that he's doing everything and he's causing everything. He's causing his own downfall, that's what he's doing. But even though he's causing his own downfall, you want to get him out of it, not because he's a likable character, but because you're in control. And when you're in control, you want to decide how things end. But that's not how this game works. This game is designed to keep you on your toes and to keep you anxious. Everything that the story does, everything that Vincent does, is designed to make you feel more and more anxious as the game progresses. The biggest drawback this game has is its story, and not that it's bad, but it is weird. It is weird, and it is gonna get people, it's gonna invest some people, and it's gonna turn some people off, especially near the end, and especially if you're playing full body. And I'm being vague with that weird turn because it's a spoiler. It happens near the end, so I think that if you're okay with that, you're gonna have a fun time with it. If you're not okay with it, the game might get a little bad at the end, but either way, the gameplay is solid, the vibes are fantastic, and I highly recommend it. And number 3 for February 2023 is Splatoon 3. Those are a lot of 3s. And it was another Splatfest. I had no idea that we would get one so soon, especially since the last one was less than a month ago, or maybe a little bit more than a month ago. I can't quite remember. Either way, I didn't get footage by itself, so the stream gameplay is going to be playing again, and I'm going to keep it short since I just talked about it last month. I played Tricolor again. It was the same as last time. The map did feel a little better. I still hate that they changed it. They massacred my boy. But I did feel super good when I streamed it. I had a lot of good games. It was probably the best feeling Splatfest I had in terms of how I played. But we were robbed. Dark chocolate should have won. Milk chocolate. I would have taken milk chocolate. I don't think white chocolate should have won. I'm salty about it. I'll say it. I'm sad. I'm mad. Not really. It's a children's game. But Splatfests are really engaging. I love them. And I look forward to the next one, even though Tricolor is bad. So, next game, please! The next game is perhaps the biggest surprise I've had in a while, and it's not because I didn't expect this game to be good, it's because I didn't expect this game at all. It's Hi-Fi Rush. It was literally just shadow dropped at Microsoft's event last month, and I am in love with this game. It's an action rhythm game, a little bit of platforming, a little bit of action, a little bit of rhythm. There's a lot about this I love. You already know how much I like music. There was no way I was not going to play this game. I unfortunately haven't beaten it because of the life stuff that happened in the middle of the month, but I am in love with this game, so I'm going to go back as soon as I can. There is almost nothing for me to complain about it, and I say almost, so let's get that out of the way first. And thinking about it while I am speaking, I can't find anything wrong specifically game design wise. I find it hard to memorize all the combos, but that's because I'm not amazing with a big list of combos. That is not the game's fault. All the ones that are there work really well. I just fall into a loop of using the same combos every time. Another thing is that the levels can be sometimes a bit long, but they also really work well with the narrative. I think they're just long to me. I've heard other people say that it's long, but I don't think they're bad level designs. I just think they're too long for me personally at times. So those are the two things I can complain about, but now I can gush about everything else. The music is fantastic, the visuals are beautiful, the animation is great, the movement is solid, the action feels amazing, the characters are hilarious, and I can't stop talking, so please cut me off before. Okay, I'm sorry. I got a little ahead of myself. In all seriousness, this game is just great. Right from the first level, I could tell that I was in for a ride, and man, this game exceeded my expectations. At least the ones I had as soon as it was announced. Hi-Fi Rush just feels good. As someone that is super into music, every aspect of it is just right. There are so many moving parts in the game, and they all click. Characters, environments, cutscenes, they all become part of the music. And even if you aren't as into the music and keeping rhythm, this game's action will still work for you. You don't need to be in sync with the music to progress. You get benefits, but it is not a requirement. You can still experience everything that's great with the game without focusing on the rhythm itself. And I think that's one of the best parts of it. Hi-Fi Rush combines action and rhythm in a perfect way. I hope Microsoft and other studios develop more creative games like this, because it was definitely a risk, but it really paid off for them. At least I think so. The last game I played for the month is Paper Mario 64. I've played most Paper Mario games, but 64 is one that I never got to try, and I really needed to play it because I love Thousand Year Door, and people have been bugging me to play this for a while. And if you don't already know, Paper Mario 64 and Thousand Year Door share the same gameplay elements, being partners and turn-based strategy. I made this game my main stream game at the beginning of the month, so I haven't really had too many opportunities to play it. I've gone through the prologue and chapter 1, and I'm at the start of chapter 2, but that's still very little because there's, I believe, 8 chapters. I haven't looked it up, but I believe there's 8 chapters. And my only issues at the moment is that there's some weird localization choices at times, like the dialogue doesn't quite make sense, but it's only in a few places and I don't notice anything wrong for the most part. Aside from that though, there's really nothing negative for me to say. I'm still super early on. I messed up the first quiz question while recording gameplay because I was spamming A, which frustrated me, but that's my fault, so I can't really say it's a problem with the game. It was funny that it happened as I was getting gameplay. The gameplay itself is great, it's what I expected, and I wish Paper Mario would return to the style. At this point, it feels like it's an impossible thing to do, but maybe one day. The visuals, while clearly old, have aged extremely well. The parties are okay so far, nothing special, but I'm only on chapter 2, so I'm sure they'll get better. And I'm having a blast with the story/dialogue. Overall, it's a really fun time, and I'm excited to keep playing it on stream. So if you're curious to see my progress on it, my link is down in the description below. I don't bite.
Please check me out on twitch.tv/Itachi cosplays.
And that wraps up each game I played in February. I got some backlog stuff done, I got through Fire Emblem, I fell in love with Hi-Fi Rush, and I'm juggling a lot of things with life at the moment, so I'm sorry if content slows down a bit, or if the next few game journals don't have as many games in them. If they don't have as many games, I'll just talk about each game a little bit more. Until then, thank you for watching the February 2023 game journal, and I will see you in the next one.